pleasant afternoon to all the communities that compose our Central Philippine University, to the student sector, to the faculty, and to the alumni, and to all the graduates of the Central Philippine University. Welcome to the first episode of our program, Rizal and his relationship to today's society. We have with us here, ladies and gentlemen, the head of the Office of Communications of the University in the person of Pastor Neil Jalando-on. He is also the current director of the Communications and Publication of the University. May we hear from our esteemed guest, Pastor Neil Jalando-on.
I thank you very much, Sir Eric, for inviting me to be as a co-host of this program, and I am excited to start this new episode as we focus on Jose Rizal, our national hero, and his relation or his relevance to today's society, especially our students, to the youth, and of course, the society in general. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and we are so glad that it is through the Office of the Communications that we have come out with this concept where, as a teacher of the subject on Rizal, this TV show is certainly a significant forum by which we can further explain, discuss, and relate the history of Rizal's sacrifice in order for today's youth, ladies and gentlemen, to enjoy the freedom that has been given to them and which was a result of the sacrifices not only of Rizal but of our heroes. But Pastor, no, that is why we are here, because we can say that there is a spiritual component in this launching of our first episode of the program, in terms of how today's society and culture and our youth can acknowledge and can feel the sacrifices of Rizal through his faith that the Filipinos are indeed a great people. How would you see it in your perspective, Pastor, as a messenger of the church? How can you relate Rizal's life in today's society?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Sir Eric, and I would like to reflect and to point out that of course, the point of departure of our faith is the Lord Jesus Christ. And the same as what happened to the Lord, Rizal also died at a young age. But you know what? The impact of the life of Jose Rizal to all of us, especially to the Filipino people, is that it has a very strong impact to us. So that means that first, although you may be young, and your life may have ended at a young age, your significance will really be because of how you live the kind of life that you have lived, just like what Jesus did. And reflecting also on the life of Paul in the New Testament, was that Rizal was like Paul also, who wrote so many letters.
Okay.
Because as we all know, majority of our New Testament books were written by Paul. And most of these were inside the prison cell. Just like what happened to our national hero. Some of these were written while he was in prison. Some of these were written while he was in exile in the Pitan, and some in his travels in Europe and some places in this world. But the point is that he liked to write, and because of that, his writings have trickled down to us. So in terms of spirituality, of Christian spirituality, I can feel that Rizal was true to his faith. Sir Eric.
Yes, no, and Pastor, we professors in history and political science, as well as of Rizal as subjects, there is we are reminded, no,
Mhm.
by Rizal's role, and also the role of the Catholic Church,
Mhm.
because he was a product of Catholic institutions. As we can recall, he has spent most of his student life in institutions like Ateneo and UST. But of course, critics also would point out, no? Because, well, this is an academic discussion, that these are, or rather, these were the very institutions that represent Spain that had caused Rizal's martyrdom.
Mhm.
Yes.
In that sense, Sir Eric, I can say that these Catholic schools have helped a lot in the development of the intelligence of Rizal.
Yes.
But
Okay.
at the same time, what they have not known that this would open the mind of this young person. And the things that they have taught, maybe Rizal would dig deeper. That's what they have done. And the tools that they gave him eventually were the ones that he used also against them.
Yes. That's why we call that's the paradox of education. No?
Yes, that's why as a teacher like you, we should always give everything to our students and let them decide. That should be
Yes.
the academic environment that we have. But in going back, sir, you told us a while ago that you are teaching Rizal. Why? Well, many are asking, why in the world do we have subjects like Rizal? Is that a law or what?
Yes. Precisely, the teaching of Rizal as a subject is a requirement in all colleges and universities by virtue of Republic Act 1425,
Oh,
otherwise known as the Rizal Law. Now, that law mandates that all schools and colleges and universities, all educational institutions must include in their curriculum Rizal as a subject, and to be taken up by all students enrolled in all kinds of courses and discipline.
but it should only be in the college level, or should it start at the high school or elementary?
It's at the college level.
Okay.
But the law also is broad, no, in terms of the scope, because in our elementary and in our high school, in subjects of social studies, there are chapters devoted to the life of Rizal.
Yes. Okay. So now, I would like to ask you, sir, as a teacher of Rizal here at Central Philippine University, now how would you introduce Rizal first to your students?
Okay. Of course, I approach it in a way that is layman at first.
Yes.
I do not sound so academic. I would tell my students, okay, Rizal, rather, okay, class, please raise your hands and tell me if anyone from this room does not know Jose Rizal. So, of course, everybody knows Jose Rizal. But then after that, okay, if you know him, do you know why he was killed? Or why he was our national hero? Because we have a lot of heroes to begin with, but why Rizal is, one author would describe him as towering over his peers.
So that must be, I also remembered my class, Rizal class during our college days here at CPU, and I always wondered how he became our national hero. Some would say that Andres Bonifacio should have become our national hero. So, do debates like that still happen in classes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It still happens because, remember, a classroom is a place where You encourage the blooming of ideas, no? The critical thinking, and of course all sides, all perspective about Rizal, be it negative or positive, should be put into light in terms of debates. But insofar as the authorities are concerned, the reason why he is a primus inter pares, no? We call this the first among equals. Primus inter pares, a Latin maxim for the first among equals. He was the first among his equals, no? Among other heroes, because there was this moment that was considered as a gauge, Pastor, no? Or a measure of his unique heroism.
Okay.
Because when he was about to be killed, according to the narration in the history, he was supposed to be at the back. His face is at he is at, meaning the firing squad team. He is placed in such a way that he is at the back, meaning he couldn't face
The firing squad.
the firing squad. Now, but by sheer effort, by witnesses, and that is also recorded in history, he forced his physical body to
turn around.
To turn around, yeah, to turn around.
And face the bullets.
Yes, face the bullets, and that is why he died facing the sky.
He should have, the design of the Spaniards was that he should have died face at the mud or at the ground.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So now he was facing upside,
Yes.
or seeing the heavens while he died.
yes.
So it was a testimony of his very courageous act.
Yes, that he is ready to face death, and that narration in the history class, of course, we can also say, Pastor, that what bolstered that argument that Rizal indeed has a unique sense of heroism is because it's human psychology that if you are not afraid of death, then what he did is the best example.
Yes, I agree with you, Sir Eric. And to dig deeper on that is that the point here is that he died for what he stood for.
Yes.
He died for what he lived for. So that's the reason why he was able to face death with courage, because he knew that he was right. He knew that what he wrote was right. He knew that what he spoke to the people was right.
Yes. And in fact, Pastor Neil, in the, I think it's in the El Filibusterismo book written by him, where he represented himself through the character Elias.
Yes.
And there was this immortal passage, in that book when Elias was already being chased by the Guardia Civil. That was dawn. The time was dawn. And then, but Elias was able to crawl his way into the shore, into the sands of the shore, and the book was so vivid in its portrayal of the start of the shining of the sunrise, sun rays, yes, because it's getting to be in the morning.
Yes.
And then Rizal wrote through Elias his immortal words that, again, to quote the character Elias, "I die without seeing the dawn brighten over my native land."
Oh.
You, now this you, he meant the youth. You who have it to see, you welcome it, but never forget those who have fallen during the dark.
Wow. That's a great line, great statement. So what it means for me is that you have to live a kind of life that maybe most of the things that you have envisioned or dreamed of will not happen in your lifetime, but in the lifetime of your children and your grandchildren and of the next generation. That is the
Yes.
kind of life that Rizal is teaching us.
Yes. Precisely. That is, Pastor, the reason why that these were among the considerations which our lawmakers thought of in order that Rizal law will be approved. Of course, there was a lot of debates during those times. And remember, the Senate during those times is really a Senate of the Republic, with the likes of Francisco Soc Rodrigo, of Claro M. Recto. These were the protagonists and the players in the debate that transpired whether to approve the law or not.
Okay, so going back to the proclamation that Jose Rizal is the national hero of our country, when was that? When was that year, sir?
I can't really identify the fixed year, but it is in the 1950s.
Okay.
That law was approved.
Okay.
And it is one of the most durable laws, shall we say, because it was not yet subjected to any amendment. Because how can you amend? I mean, because the wisdom of the legislators during those time is advanced for the generation, ahead rather, for the generation. So if indeed there will be reviews about how these laws will again be responsive to the fast changing times, it would be the opposite. We are supposed to always prone to the changes that contemporary world can offer, must always look back into the wisdom of having this Rizal law.
Okay, so before World War II, before the time of the Americans, the time of Quezon, there was no national hero yet.
That was immediately after the World War.
Yeah, but before that, there was no national hero for our country yet.
Yes, there was not.
Okay, so it means that when the Americans gave back our independence after World War II, then now was the time to enact that law that we have a national hero.
Correct.
Okay.
There was even a controversy, because if I would quote one of our best historians, Chidoro Agoncillo was critical about Rizal being elevated into that pedestal of being a national hero, because to Agoncillo, this was some sort of a machination by the Americans.
Okay.
Because of course the Americans they have this tendency to discredit the influence also of Spain, because they are our only two colonizers, by the way, and they would think that the Rizal, a recognition of Rizal as a national hero would be a reminder that if we say stressors or those that made life so difficult for Rizal is Spain. So they have an agenda for that. They have this way of reminding that, look, we are the better colonizer than Spain, because we recognize Jose Rizal as the true hero. But of course the authorities are quick into having these things be out of intrigue or controversy by emphasizing, with or without Americans, with Rizal's life, Rizal's works, his writings, that is more than enough to elevate him as our national hero.
Yes, and I'm very excited with this episode of ours, Sir Eric, and this show that we will be continuing on the next few weeks and this year, hopefully this school year, and by the next week, hopefully we will focus on a certain point in the life of Rizal. Now we are introducing Rizal and his relevance to our society now, and hopefully next time we can focus maybe in one work of Rizal, or his life in the Pitan, or his love life, or whatever that may be. So stay tuned, my friends, in this episode. We will be focusing on that. But now we are just trying to tell you of the relevance of Jose Rizal in our modern society.
Yes.
And sir, I would like to really appreciate that Jose Rizal as a writer myself, and you also, Rizal made an effort to write. He did
Yes.
not see his situation like inside the prison or in exile as some sort of a punishment, but as an opportunity to write. And because of that, his writings are still with us. But
Yes.
unfortunately for me, I have only read the English translation of Rizal's works. Well, I cannot understand Espanol.
Spanish version.
So
Okay.
but you have read it in the original language.
Yes, the original manuscript is in our, National Museum, and also the other writings of Rizal, because they are kept, ladies and gentlemen, as our treasures.
Yes.
The treasure of a people that has produced a hero that represents who really the Filipinos are in terms of their struggle, in terms of their psychology as a people.
And I would like to focus on the relevance of Rizal on writing for this episode of ours, because as reports are telling us that the Filipino people is the number one user of the internet all over the world,
Yes.
with more than 10 hours a day in average using the net. And as we know, in the internet, majority of our time we use social media. And social media is a writing platform.
That's correct.
And Rizal, during his time, I can imagine that he would have been searching for a pen, an ink, a paper, and it would have been very difficult for him to find that. But he did so. And he would write anytime that he was given the chance. For you, Sir Eric, our young people now, we have been given this great opportunity to write anytime. And you yourself have seen a lot of posts in Facebook. Now, we ask ourselves, are we responsible writers in what we are doing right now in social media?
Yes. It would seem that the social media is being used not as a way of enhancing our innate gifts to write positively and perform our duties as citizens, but it more more caters, no, Pastor, to the mundane, to the trivial. Because the social media as a platform is not used for the purpose of unifying us, but rather dividing us by way of, we can criticize, we can give comments, but the use of, let's say, vulgar words or language, because there are certain standards that you are supposed to follow. And it's more than that. The danger of the social media is it's being used as a vehicle for misinformation.
Yes, for fake news.
Fake news.
Oh.
Fake news.
So for Jose Rizal right now, using Jose Rizal as a lens to see social
a lens.
media, that means that Rizal is telling us, be responsible on the use of social media and use it as an opportunity to open the minds of the people, to help, to educate, not to misinform, not to spread fake news.
Yes, precisely. That should have been the case.
Yes, and hopefully as we study Rizal and his writings, we too are encouraged to write what we think, especially on what is happening around us, Sir Eric.
Yes. So, do we still have enough time?
Yes, we still have 5 minutes more.
Okay, so we still have 5 minutes. So, the contemporary world should be viewed within the context of how we have enjoyed the openness of this time. But all of these things were not possible, Pastor, had it not for our heroes, and especially Rizal.
Yes. And I can only imagine the pressure of Spain and the government during the time of censoring Rizal, but he
Yes.
found a way. That's my point here. He found a way to write words that would ignite the revolution. And
Yes.
for us right now, the power of words will always be there. Will always be there. So
Yes.
that's why we should be responsible on what we are writing.
Now, if we go by the influence of culture, no, traditions and customs, there is always a debate that we have two mother countries, Spain and America. Mm. But okay, well, if it is a given that we have two mothers, that would still be okay because their influences are all over in place or all over us even today. But what separates the two, no? For instance, is that Spain is more of a conservative culture. By virtue of, Catholicism per se is also a very dogmatic religion. On the other hand, the Baptist religion, the Protestantism, remember the Reformation and all those things about religious history, the history of religion. America is more of the liberal culture. That's why, can you not sense it here in our CPU community? This culture of openness.
Yes.
Even a culture of activism.
Yes.
Because remember Martin Luther King. Now, that's why we are also privileged as a people. Because we were we were given that experience for us to make a choice between two competing cultures. Spain and America. In education, have you seen also there is some sort of a demarcation line
Yes.
also? There are Baptist inspired institutions in our country and also, as usual, the Catholic institutions.
Yeah.
So, really, there you will realize. Now, how do these two cultures approach Rizal as a subject in the academic institutions?
Wow, and that would be our topic next week.
Yes. That would be our topic next week, Pastor.
Yeah,
No?
and just to whet the appetite of the people, as Sir Eric has told us a while ago, these two great nations have a great influence, not just on Rizal, but on society in
Yes.
general, and the Filipino culture
The
as
Filipino
well.
culture.
And we are still living it right now.
Yes.
So I hope, my friends, that as you continue to live in our society today, let it be that we will remember the past, because the past has a lot to taught us, to teach us. And one of these things is, of course, our national hero, Jose Rizal. And today we have tackled about the relevance of Rizal, especially on how the situation during his time was very difficult for him to write, but he did nevertheless. And that is a great reason for us now that with this great opportunity, this openness that we have in our society, in Philippine society,
Yes.
and in the world in general, then we have to write what is right, and we have to write things that would open and empower people. And for me, sir, in this episode, that is the thing that I would like to center, that I have learned from Jose Rizal.
Yes. Okay, now so ladies and gentlemen, we are about to wrap things up with this first episode of our program about Rizal and his relationship with the contemporary world and in our society. No? And we are so thankful to the director of the Office of the Communications, Pastor Neil Jalando-on, for giving us the authority to launch this program so that we can find another forum by which Rizal's life will continue to inspire us and for us to emulate him and his faith, his teachings, and how he can always be remembered as our national hero. So once again, thank you so much, and our thanks to the staff of CPU TV and of course to Pastor Neil Jalando-on. Good afternoon to each and everyone.